Today we're going to talk about shifts in exponential functions, which is what Learning Target 4 is about. We're going to talk about what happens when you take f of x and you replace it with this, which means adding something to the entire function, and this, which means adding something to just the x. To create a vertical shift, we're going to look to see what that means in a minute. Add a value to the entire function, and to create a horizontal shift, we're going to add a value to just the x, or the exponent. What that's going to look like is you are going to actually see what that looks like when you do the Desmos activity. So right now, go ahead and pause this video, and then do this Desmos activity here, which is on the front of the classroom on the stool if you don't already have it. And then summarize your findings here after you do that activity. And then try this after you do that activity. When we come back, after you do that activity, you're going to come back to your notes, and then we're going to do this part together. So right now, do the Desmos activity. Summarize your findings here. See if you can use your findings to predict what happens in each of these situations. And then we'll come back and check this and do this together. So go ahead and pause it now and start that. Okay, so hopefully you've done this part here. This should be all filled in now. And then we want to go ahead and check this to make sure that you have the right idea about what's actually happening. So if we're going to add 2 to the whole entire function, that means the whole entire function is going to be bumped up 2 spaces. So now the new horizontal asymptote is up here. Instead of y equals 0, the x-axis, now it's at y equals 2, and it's going to be up here like this. The new y-intercept is going to be moved 2 spots up, and it's going to be right there. Whoops, missed it. There you go. Okay, so that's what the whole function is going to look like. It's going to go up 2 units. This one, subtracting 4 from the entire thing, is going to go down 2 units. When we add 1 to the entire thing, what's really going to happen is, contrary to what it might seem, it's actually everything is going to move to the left 1 unit. This whole plus and minus with the exponent, what's going to happen is just like it happened with point slope form in linear functions, it's actually going to go the opposite of what you might think. So what's really going to happen here is this plus 1, everything is going to shift 1 to the left. And then this minus 5, you would think that a minus would actually be going to the left in the negative direction, but actually it's going to shift the whole thing to the right 5. And hopefully when you did the Desmos activity, you noticed that that was what was happening. Okay, now consider that the graph above of the function f of x equals 1 times 2 to the x is the original function. So this is actually the original function right here. These are shifted versions of that original function. We need to figure out what the shift is actually going to look like. So we know that we're starting every single one out like this. These are the original functions. We need to figure out where it got shifted. So when we do that, if the horizontal asymptote is no longer at the x-axis, we know that it's a vertical shift. So the horizontal asymptote should be here at the x-axis, but it actually got moved up, and now it's up here at 3. So we know that we're going to add 3 to the entire function. For this one, the horizontal asymptote should be right here, but it went down 3. So we're going to subtract 3 from the entire function. For this one right here, the asymptote is still at the y-axis, or the x-axis, y equals 0. So we know that it didn't get shifted up or down, but it got shifted left or right. The y-intercept should be at 1 right here. But if I draw a line across there, I can see the spot on my graph when y equals 1 actually moved left 3 spots. So this graph shifted left 3, which means I'm going to add 3 to the exponent. Because a horizontal shift, we add and subtract from the exponent. And because it went left 3, we're going to add 3. Over here, again, the asymptote is still at the x-axis here, so I know it didn't go up or down at all. What I do know, though, is that because a is 1, the y-intercept should be at 1. So this should be the y-intercept. But it's not. It appears that the spot on this graph when y equals 1, which should be here, actually moved over 3 units. So this graph shifted 3 to the right, which means that we're going to say minus 3 up there. And that's how you determine what happens to the graph when you see the equation, and how to write the equation given a shifted graph. On the back is part 2 of Learning Target 4. We are not going to do this right now, so we're going to skip that part. So we're all finished with Learning Target 4. I hope you enjoyed it.